DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are joined now by Ben McLaughlin, the play-by-play voice for your Nebraska Cornhuskers baseball team. What's up, Ben?
How we doing, fellas? Good morning.
B, where are you, buddy? That's all I need to know.
Well, I just hit it in the drink on 4, so I'm not real happy at the moment.
Oh, I'm glad you got a chance to golf. Good for you.
Yeah.
When you saw the regional come out and as you're doing your prep work and stuff for the games, like, how is it striking you how Nebraska matches up with this field?
Well, it's a little strange and different that the strengths of the teams for this regional are vastly different than the ones I've covered in the past. Like, obviously last year we're talking about Florida's offense and how tiny that ballpark is in Stillwater, and out in Corvallis, we're talking about that powerful Oregon State offense, or in Clemson, you're talking about Seth Beer. I think that was always the thing to me, is how offensive the regionals have been. This one is quite different. This is the pitching regional, so to speak. Like there's obviously guys in the lineup that scare you and can do a lot of different things offensively, but all the attention is on the pitching, really, from not just the Oklahoma side, but obviously Carolina and even Holy Cross. So yeah. I think you're going to see some well-pitched games and some elite arms in this regional. I'm going to say low-scoring games, but this is postseason and weird stuff tends to happen. So, I'm impressed with what I've seen in terms of the statistics and the numbers of some of these starters, but you could still see some fireworks offensively.
Hey, the cool thing is the park is going to lend itself to playing big too, right? I'm the resident Carolina honk, and I'm just telling you, pitching in that ballpark, I'm with you. I thought it was about as good a draw as you can get to go to the number 5 team on the road, where it fits the way I think Nebraska is capable of playing baseball. They're not going to win a lot of 12-10 games, but I don't think that's how that region's going to go.
No, I don't think so. And this will shock you, Damon, but I have been wrong before. So there is some power here. Like, there's certainly guys that you got to watch out for. But a lot of these teams like to steal bases, Carolina and Holy Cross namely. So that's something you got to pay attention to when guys are on base. And you got to handle the baseball. That's first and foremost. If Nebraska learned anything from the Big Ten tournament after Tuesday against Michigan State, you got to handle your business defensively and not let innings stack up on you. But no, I'm not expecting a gorilla ball type regional.
Well, that's heartbreaking for somebody who grew up watching late 90s college baseball here in Omaha.
Sorry.
It was a big Skip Bertman LSU guy. No. So as you kind of look through what happened in the Big Ten tournament and then what's coming up here in the regional, compared to how you felt going into the Big Ten tournament versus now, do you feel like Nebraska has enough pitching or enough capable arms now that they can navigate a regional like this that is probably going to be reasonably low scoring?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the tough thing about this team is, you don't really have a true bona fide ace that's healthy. So you're having to kind of just make it work. And then, with your other guys, with Horn and Brockett and even now Timmerman, you've just got to find the roles that fit them best. And so, you love that you can get length out of the back end with Christo and with Broderick. You love that you can match up some left-handed pitching. But overall, you just got to take this thing game by game and piece it together. And, guys tend to rise to the occasion in terms of making themselves available for the length of the duration of the regional, because your season's on the line and you have to win, pretty much every game here in at least the first 2, to put yourself in the driver's seat to advance your season past this weekend.
So, B, let me ask you something. People, much ado about nothing. We've seen people handle their staffs differently, right? Obviously, with Spoon, not Malachi, but 1 minute older twin bro. To save him, yeah, Malachi is plenty capable to get it done too. You think it's too much, too low hanging fruit to say, ooh, they're not throwing their ace? I mean, we've seen staffs maneuver for regionals before where Nebraska doesn't necessarily have to take it personal. We're just trying to win baseball games, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of spin the narrative however you want, right? I mean, you can make the puzzle pieces fit how you want. But, at the end of the day, Oklahoma's trying to do the same thing Nebraska is. And, And, whether they want to make a run or not, Malachi did not pitch at Hoover. And so those guys, I'm of the mindset where those guys have to throw anyway. Like, they're going to have to pitch and win games anyway. So if they feel better about a particular hypothetical matchup, like, good on you. But I don't feel any disrespect by it. But, if it's going to add fuel to the fire and logs to the fire, then sure, let's be offended by it. It makes no difference to me.
I mean, honestly, Oklahoma's in sort of a similar position as Nebraska. Obviously, Kyson Witherspoon has a much higher pedigree than, say, like a Jackson Brockett. But you do kind of have the one guy with pretty solid numbers as a starter, and then everybody else, those numbers get inflated in a hurry. So this isn't like, not seeing Kyson is maybe an opportunity here for Nebraska, whether they take it as a slight or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're talking about a top 5, top 6 overall pick in the Major League Draft that Nebraska's not seeing. Like, let's not pretend like that's not a benefit to Nebraska. It most certainly is. Now, that being said, you still have to go through and execute what you're doing offensively, no matter what you're seeing. Nebraska saw elite level pitching all weekend in the Big Ten tournament, and that's just going to continue on, not just with Oklahoma, but certainly with Holy Cross, with the two guys that, they basically co-aces of that staff. And then you've got if you win against Oklahoma, you're going to have Napa of Carolina waiting for you in your hands. So, I think no matter what situation you're looking at, whether it's Malachi, whether it's Kyson, your hands are going to be full. Now it's a little bit, less of a challenge, so to speak, when you're not dealing with a 97 to 99 fastball with a 90-mile-an-hour changeup and an absolute hammer breaking ball. So, yeah, the test is certainly a little bit easier.
Let me ask you something. If you're watching this deal and kind of this magical ride, and it's easy to say, well, this is the team that they should have been, or you start to lament and compare and contrast, or you may even get well, that doesn't fix what was. How important is it for you to think that for Nebraska to just stay right here with this moment and not allow those kinds of things to filter in?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this is baseball, right? I mean, you've got major league teams that win 100 games and don't play playoffs well, and then how do you label their season? Then you get teams that win 80, 82 games and get hot, and then that's how you measure their season. Like, at the end of the day, this sport apologizes to no one, and it's a very difficult sport to manage, and it plays with your feelings. And so when things are going well, like, I don't need to look holistically or big picture or what happened in March or, how Nebraska navigated that really tough non-conference schedule, or how did we handle the Mason McConaughey injury. Like, at this point, I don't really care about any of that. I care about right now, the run that the team's on, how they're feeling, how they're playing, and what's going to happen this weekend. And I'll figure the rest out, in July and August and September. But for right now, the results are what they are. The team did go on the run. That guy did drop the fly ball. Nebraska took advantage of it. They had to go beat 2 ranked teams after the fact. And now they're here in Chapel Hill because of it. So, I don't want to just start labeling things because of how things look. And honestly, just to be blunt, a lot of the people putting those labels on a season or over a head coach aren't with the team in March, and they don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. And, they're not on the 11-day road trip or being on a bus for 3 hours both ways to a baseball game, so to me, it's just kind of like noise. But for right now and where the team is, like, you can't deny these kids this opportunity because what may or may happen in March or April.
Ben, as you're out there this week, you going to try and have any conversations with the Hornets about that number 4 pick?
No. These guys, I mean, what are we – I'm speechless, honestly. Like,
what are we doing, in your famous words?
You trying to talk yourself into VJ Edgecombe yet or no?
It is just, it's not going to matter. Like, even if it's a good pick, something's going to happen to him, and it's going to turn into, a situation. But, I do my best not to think about them. And now that the playoffs have started, I certainly don't have to worry about the Hornets because they're nowhere near the playoffs ever. So, yeah, I mean, it's not of a huge concern right now. However, come next Christmas time when they're already mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, we can revisit that conversation.
All right, I didn't mean to bring up sour stuff. I just thought you were out there. You might try to make a couple calls.
Hey,
Would they listen? Like,
It seems like they listen to just about anybody.
that's true. That's true.
how important is it, do you think, for Nebraska to manage the downtime? Is this a team you're around? What do you think?
Well, their hacky sack game is top notch. They've had a lot of.
Are they still doing that?
Oh yeah. Dylan Carey. Well, maybe not so much Overbeek now, but there has been a lot of guys that have contributed to that fact, and the downtime is something you just kind of get used to when you're on the road. Like, these guys definitely love being around each other and love spending time with each other. And a lot of them are older too.
Yeah.
So they know, like, this is, and those that have been around a locker room know, like, yeah, you remember the games and all that, but what you remember most is your brothers and your boys and being in the hotels and playing the Xboxes and all that kind of thing. So, yeah, I mean, it's obviously important. Like, you need to be taking care of your body. They have the nutritionist and the trainer here, making sure they're not just drinking a bunch of pop and eating fried food. Like, you got to be getting sleep and all that kind of thing. But, this is a really long, grueling season. And if you're not equipped of handling downtime by now, like, here's the other thing is these guys grew up playing travel baseball where they're playing 3, 4, 5 games in a week or a weekend and 100-degree heat and, parents driving them from field to field. So I think a little part of the weird brains of baseball guys is they kind of embrace it and they kind of like it. So, with rain delays and weather delays, you're always kind of worried about it. But, for the most part, I've kind of given up predicting this team and to a certain degree, and managing downtime is certainly a part of that.
Hey, so speaking of management, like, emotions are part of it, right? Obviously, with Sharpe and the season for you and what this entails, you get guys like Gabe Swanson and Jackson Brockett, who that had just big time embraced the moment. You get Drew Christo on this crazy emotional ride of his career, and now the solid role that he has. Like, I know you're not sentimental, so don't chew me up, but at what point are you going to be like, man, this is I mean, this is kind of this is what it's about, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's already happened, right? I mean, there's been little moments throughout the season where, Sharpie's been giving us signs from looking down on us that he's still around, and we've just kind of taken this season as it's come, just day by day, and with that has come some high points, certainly some low points, some emotional points, and none highlighted more by the Big Ten tournament and the drop fly ball and all that, but. One thing's for sure, he would just be on cloud 9 with this team. He'd be smiling from ear to ear and just soaking this all in. And, I've always said, DB, my only goal, from here on out is to make him proud, And so whatever I have going on in my life before, during, or after a game, I owe it to Greg and I owe it to Husker Nation to give it my very best. And, that's going to continue to be my promise to everybody, and, be thinking about him all the time because, I owe that to Greg with everything that he gave me.
Hey, for how big, that's, man. Let me get you out of here on this. Gosh darn you, Benny. For kind of what Christo came in with, and it's just because I have such an affinity for him and his family and kind of the role. He's kind of like the gas can guy, right? Not the gas can guy. He's like the guy that puts out the fires now, where they bring him in tough situations, and he's kind of flourished in this role, man. How much do you think a guy like Christo typifies to just what Childress and Bolt and kind of the culture brings for Nebraska baseball in terms of just being able to hang in there?
He embodies everything you want throughout the story of a career dealing with adversity. He's going to be a doctor, so he's way smarter than all of us. He's having to take very difficult classes, manage all the expectations of being the highest ranked, recruit, and who knows how long. He's weathered success. He's weathered failure. He leads the Big Ten in appearances this year. I mean, he embodies everything that we want. And you better believe me, whenever this season ends, Nebraska's really going to miss 25. And he'll be talked about a long time for what he's given this program.
That's our guy, Ben McLaughlin, play-by-play voice of Nebraska baseball. Ben, appreciate the time. As always, look forward to hearing you on the call this weekend.
Hey, knock it stiff, buddy.
We'll try. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.